evening we'll be discussing the July 15th primary races. Also, we'll be taking a look at our community now. Where do we want to go from here? And how do we get there? How do we get to the future that we all dream about and want this community to move forward in the best direction? Also, with my guest here today, we have Tom Grant, the editor of Spirit. We also have Helen Blocker-Adams, the host of People Initiative with Helen, and Tony Lewis, a community activist, also a former District 6 Commission candidate. Welcome to the program, to my very distinguished panel.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Tom, start with yourself. As we pick up your weekly Metro Spirit, which you are the editor of, what do you want me as a reader to walk away from?
First of all, yeah, fun, because that's what we do. But second, all weeklies have a tradition of trying to make a difference in our communities, and I think that you should read stories in here that have an impact and will help us make this a better place.
Do you think that is happening as of right now?
Well, I mean, I think so. I think both things. I think people do have fun when they read it, and they sometimes get angered by various things. But I also think that we have done the kind of stories that change things.
Okay, great. Helen, as you had your program, you have your program now, the host of People Initiative with Helen. Tell us about the program. Why did you start the program, and are you reaching those goals and objectives that you set for yourself in starting your program?
Well, I'm very excited to be here, Ben.
Also, tell us exactly where you are.
Okay, yes. The program is called People and Issues with Helen, and we're on News Radio 1230 AM, WNRR. And I started my program on January the 15th, 2007. And the whole purpose was to discuss people and issues. And in terms of making an impact on the community, I believe we've done a good job of doing that by providing an unbiased look at a variety of topics, everything from politics to business to community issues. And based on the feedback that I get from listeners, people on the street that say they listen and they like the information that's provided, yeah, I think we're doing a good job. But there's still much more to come.
Okay. Also, what time frame did I also like to extend an appreciation for you for sitting in for me in the interview in AK, which I had to recuse myself because AK is my brother, but I think you've done a fantastic job of sitting in for me.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Ben. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. Oh, shaking in your boots. There's enough to go around for all of us, right. and that's what I like, is the diversity of media outlets that we have here in Augusta. My show airs Monday through Friday from 12 to 3 o'clock on News Radio 1230, and I urge everybody to tune in. You'll learn something.
Okay. Tony, you are a former candidate for a commission as well as your community activist. In terms of you running for that seat, that was your first political stint, that correct?
That's correct.
So tell us about that experience you had as well as some of the things that the community activist that you're working on.
Ben, we've always had our pulse on in the community and when it comes to politics. And we decided to embark upon running for the 6th District Commissioner seat. And we had a lot of fun doing so. We had an opportunity to meet a lot of great people and to really find out what it is that the people of Richmond, Augusta, Richmond County wanted in order for Augusta, Richmond County to progress. And unfortunately, we didn't win. But nevertheless, we had a great time running. And we're still actively involved in the community and trying to get some of the things resolved in Augusta, Richmond County that need to be resolved in order to make Augusta, Richmond County the best county in the state of Augusta. And with our current commission now, there are some great things that's being done. But we're also watching and seeing what it is that they're doing and what they're not doing. And we're going to look at those things and perhaps look at running again in the near future.
As you do what you do now in terms of your community activism, I think it revitalize your neighborhood community. What is that you're reorganizing right now?
Absolutely. You know, one of the other candidates in the 6th District, Ms. Juanita Burney,
okay, and
I decided to get our neighborhood reactivated in this community awareness. And we're doing a great job in the 6th District, here, Birch Grant, Salem West, Birch Grant, Mount Vernon, and getting people back involved in community issues because when what affects one affects all of us. So we're just trying to do our best in that particular area.
Thank you. Tom, I want to go back to you just a moment. You've done some great, as an editor of this paper, you've done some great things for this community. You always have, I wouldn't say necessarily opposing views, but a different perspective. And in many ways, you introduce the community to things that we normally just don't get. And that's what makes your paper so unusual. But in terms of you've done things like you let us know about the mayor having a joint ownership in a piece of property or several pieces of property downtown at one time that had graffiti over it. And eventually, I think the mayor resolved his business relationship with that, but eventually the building got cleaned up as well. You also gave some information about the MCG and the Cayman Islands account over there. You also have done some things in terms of the daily newspaper in terms of some financial challenges they were having as of late, and might very well continue through this year. But more important, just recently we've done talking about the Columbia County Courthouse and the event of privacy there. With that, I read the article myself, and there were some real concerns. And number one, first thing for me, I found it gave some validity to the article in that clerk of court in the Columbia County Courthouse took and chose to go in her own budget and create her own security system. Just has a visual model opposed to something audio that people can actually hear. She didn't want a part of that. And, you know, so that was concerning. That gives some validity to your article. And number two, I'm concerned if that it is the listening devices there, when you're talking about in conference rooms, when an attorney and clients are discussing the cases, do they also exist in there? Now, before you answer as well, I'd like to throw in some comments I heard from Columbia County making reference to that. He did say that it has the ability to hear, but they're not doing that. That's not happening, but he also said he's going to go back from you so that you all can move along further along down the road in this process of trying to get this information out to the community, or other words, to clear some discrepancies in your report.
Well, first of all, what the story was about a listening system, a device of audio and visual surveillance within the courthouse at Columbia County that's supposedly there for security purposes, but that some attorneys believe, and that three talked to us about that, and they have, at least two of those have made this known to the sheriff as well, that say that surveillance is being used to listen in on conversations that they thought were private in the courthouse, and that becomes an issue for them. I did talk to Sheriff Whittle about this early on as we were pursuing this. We spent several months working on this story, and what Sheriff Whittle was concerned about at that time was that he wasn't aware of anybody who had observed problems of being listened into, and he was threatening to arrest our reporter because our reporter didn't divulge the names of the attorneys who had said this. Well, after learning later on that he was fully aware of at least those three instances that we're aware of, I didn't see any need for us to be involved in his information gathering process, because he already had the information. So, and frankly, my reporter has dealt with him, has a recorded interview with Sheriff Whittle about this issue, and I don't think it's between Sheriff Whittle and I, unless he should want to ask for a correction, which he has not done, or he should want to write a letter to us, which he's perfectly welcome to do. And rather than do that, he's chosen to take his case to on the air on another radio show.
So at this point in time, what you're saying to us is that you as an editor of this newspaper, you stand behind the report.
Yes, it's a good report.
Good report. Any questions on that? As you go into Columbia County Courthouse, you just having a conversation with your attorney, would you be concerned now, Helen, per se, concerned about potential people listening on your conversation between you and your attorney? Yes,
I would be a little concerned, but my question is, when you're in a public environment like government and everything is open records, how does that play in that whole scenario, Tom?
It's interesting because, I mean, if you believe there's a reasonable expectation of privacy, you should be allowed to have some privacy. So, for instance, in one of these cases, an attorney is in a courtroom but alone and believes that it's a private conversation between them and their client. And I think the issue is there a reasonable expectation that there's a private conversation? And you can imagine if you're in a hallway or you're talking with somebody, your attorney in particular, you can go over in a corner and you can have a private conversation. But perhaps if you're standing beneath one of their microphones, and he won't tell us where the microphones are, by the way. So then because that's secret. But then you may not be having a private conversation. Now he says he doesn't record them, but he won't show any of the information because that's secret as part of the security system, which is protected under the law. And so I don't know. I guess we just have to trust the sheriff that he's used judiciously.
Well, Tony, this question is to you pretty much, and that is, I mean, I can understand your question, Helen, in terms of being in open space, you're having dialogues, you coming and going and paying bills and things. If you have the ability to do that in Columbia, I'm not sure. But you and your attorney, you're sitting in your private conference room. Do you think that you should have privacy there, even though you're in a public facility?
I think so, because under Attorney-Client Privacy Act, I think if it's posted that there is security monitoring or audio, then that's one thing. But if there's nothing that's telling you that or warning you to that fact, then I think it invades the privacy of the client and attorney.
Okay, and I would like to say to the viewing audience, we're not saying that these things does not exist or conversations are being listen to. We'll just create some talking points here. But better yet, what is interesting to me, Tom, moving away from this, but has a direct connection, a bearing on this article here, is that I can remember about several months ago on the very same radio awesome program that Sheriff Whittle came in and part of Austin was spearheading in terms of this national ID and putting all the information on national ID. And at the end of that program that day, Sheriff Whittle called in. I think he made some very profound comments in which were he didn't think we need to go to that national ID because it was just giving too much authority and too much information to Big Brother. And for any case that you are about to embark upon from a law enforcement perspective, they have adequate access to information already as opposed to doing something and making a national ID. So that was totally contradictory to that statement in the article. So we'll leave that at that. But let's have the final word.
Well, no, I think that the sheriff is a good man.
Absolutely.
And I believe him when he tells me these things. But he has a whole bunch of people who work for him. And I think that there still needs to be checks and balances. There need to be balances, especially from the judge who oversees that, to make sure that that system is used correctly.
Okay, great. We're going to move right on to these political races here. We're going to first start with our tax commissioner. We have Stephen Kendricks, we have Tommy Boyes, we have Sanford Lloyd. Let's talk with you, Tony. Let's start with you. Who do you like in that race and for what reason?
I tell you, I think all three of them bring something unique to the...
I'll tell you what we're going to do, Tony. We're going to, before you get started on that, because we're going to have to take a break in about 30 seconds. Well, probably about 10 or 15 seconds here. When you come back, we're going to let you tell us who you prefer and who you like in that particular race. We'll be right back. We're going to take a commercial break.
I'm Sister King Cannon, and I encourage you to tune in every Monday through Friday on Praise 96.9, where we bring you inspirational praise 24 hours a day. That's Monday through Friday from 2 to 6. We'll bring you the update on what's happening in the churches in our community and current events on what's happening right here within CSRA. Remember, that's Monday through Friday from 2 to 6 on Praise 96.9 with yours truly, Sister King Cannon.
For more than 8 years, Easy Ride of Augusta has been providing affordable and convenient service to the Atlanta airport. A fleet of 5 vans and 8 experienced drivers provide you a reliable and worry-free ride. With 34 trips every week, it's easy to book the trip that fits your schedule. Join the thousands of satisfied customers. Visit EasyRideOfAugusta.com or call 706-860-4900 to reserve your next trip to the Atlanta airport.
Do you need your computer repaired or your office network maintained? Call the certified expert at 4T's Computers. They have the largest staff of certified technicians in the CSRA, with hundreds of computers repaired monthly and multiple maintenance contracts with small businesses and organizations. All work is guaranteed, and our motto is do it right the first time. We have the largest selection of refurbished computers in the area. 4T's has 2 locations to serve you, 592 Bobby Jones Expressway across from Home Depot and Windsor Plaza next to the post office on Peach Orchard Road. For quick and friendly service, come to Quickway Flowers. Call our professional staff to inquire about beautiful fresh cut arrangements, seasonal bouquets, centerpieces, and more. Let us help customize your funeral designs. Or stop by and purchase one of our pre-arranged bouquets. For all of your floral needs, call Quickway Florists, flowers for all occasions. Located at 1335 Druid Park Avenue in Augusta. Quickway Florists.
Welcome back. You're watching Comcast Community Concern. Once again, my guest is Tom Grant, Metro Spirit, Helen Blocker Adams, People Initiative with Helen, Tony Lewis, Community Activist. Before we went to commercial break, Tony was asking you about the tax commissioner's race. Who do you like in that particular race and why?
I tell you, Ben, it's a toss-up between Kendricks and Sanford Lloyd. I know both of those gentlemen, and I think both of them bring something unique to that position. So I think I'll reserve my pick on that particular person, but either one of the two I think would be very qualified. As a matter of fact, all three of them would be pretty much qualified for the position. Sanford being a CPA really would enhance his abilities to do the job great. Mr. Kendricks being a businessman would also do likewise. And Tommy Boyes, having been in the eye of the public, having served as the recreation director, one of our county commissioners, also ran for mayor. So I think all three of them are much qualified, but all of them bring something unique to the table.
Okay. Helen? Who you like in that race and why?
You know, I can almost say the same thing as all of them. All three of them are good candidates, and certainly Sanford Lloyd, I believe, brings a lot more to the table than the other two candidates because of his 25 years of experience as a CPA. I mean, he has managed millions of dollars of people's money over the years, and he does have a heart for Augusta, as does Stephen Kendrick and Tommy Boyles. But I would lean. I don't think name recognition is going to be really key in this particular race. So sometimes I have learned that the best candidate in our minds for the job doesn't necessarily get the job. But I believe that Sanford Lloyd brings more to the table. I would lean towards Sanford Lloyd.
You still, Tom?
Metro Spirit does its picks in this unusual way. We actually convene a panel of 7 people, and we ask them to make their votes. This race came out 2-2-2, with one person abstaining, and so we couldn't make a pick in this race. That's how close it is. Now, personally, my feeling is I agree that Sanford Lloyd, the accountant, but but on the other hand, some people like the bureaucrat, some people like the businessman. I just happen to like the guy who counts, and but I think that's too close to call, and I believe that we should wait for the runoff.
Okay, well, let's look at it from a different perspective, and let's become the devil's advocate in this regard. Helen, as well as Tony, both of you have been endorsed previously by the Augusta Chronicle. Sanford received the endorsement of the Augusta Chronicle. Now, what makes this kind of a little unusual is that, the Chronicle has a history of endorsing candidates. But here we're talking about, in your race, Tony, it was 3 African Americans, 1 white, Joe Jackson. Joe Jackson was able to win without a runoff. Helen, when you was running for mayor, I think it was former county commissioner Willie Mays, interim mayor, and Deke Copenhagen. It was nobody.
Tommy Boyles.
And Tommy Boyles as well. You received that endorsement.
I did.
How does that endorsement play out coming from the Chronicle? Either one of you can start out on that. How does that play out in these kinds of races when a white is in there and the rest happen to be African American? How does that play out when you look in hindsight? Let's talk hindsight.
I think, Ben, that the endorsement of the Augusta Chronicle is a great thing, but it's not necessarily a win-win situation for any candidate, because you still have a job to do. You have to go out and you have to win the votes from the people. So you've got to have a platform, and people have got to feel comfortable with you, not so much that the Augusta Chronicle endorse you. I mean, it's great to be endorsed by the Augusta Chronicle, and I appreciate being endorsed by the Augusta Chronicle, but did I think that would win me the commissioner seat? No, I didn't, because I knew that I had work to do myself. So it's a good thing, but you still have work to do.
Helen?
And in my case, running for mayor, that was the first time I'd ever run political office. I didn't know what the process was in terms of whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. I enjoyed being endorsed by the Chronicle 3 times, by the way, in that mayor's race. And it was a phenomenal honor. Did I think that endorsement was going to give me the votes? No, because I'm of the mindset that the people, the choice. Sure, they're influenced to a certain degree, but let the voters decide, and they did decide in that race. And so I think the endorsement was a good thing, and Sanford getting that endorsement, he ought to feel proud about that. Whether that's going to get him the win, probably not. He doesn't have the name recognition like the other 2 candidates.
Tom, let's look at it from a different perspective for you, because you've been on television, you're part of your newspaper. This is probably not the first paper you've been a part of, so you sit behind. I know how we do here until you have the 7th person and you choose your vote, but also you've seen the strategic decisions being made of how we choose these candidates based on what we want. So talk to us from that perspective about an endorsement when there's a black African Americans there, and then when there's a white person in the race.
I think we know that our endorsement is sometimes the kiss of death. I mean, we're the Alt Weekly, and so we don't expect that if we endorse somebody that everybody's going to go along with us. We expect a small percentage of people to go along with us. But I think in this case, the endorsement by the Chronicle is like can be the kiss of death for an African American candidate. And let me tell you why. I mean, I remember when I ran for office in Spokane, there was a question of whether I might get the endorsement from the Green Party, and that would have been the kiss of death for me. People would have beaten me with that, again and again. And I think that because there's a long history of animosity within certain parts of the African American community, that you sometimes hurt your chances if you get endorsed by the Chronicle, because you will get beaten up with that.
Okay, so you think so not so much for the candidate, but the African Americans period in the race, or that particular candidate?
I think
because that's the nature of the
for
race.
That candidate, the one who gets endorsed by the Chronicle, I think becomes vulnerable in some parts of the community. I also think that that there's a game that gets played on the Chronicle, and that game is to endorse a candidate that they may not want to see win.
Okay, so you have to choose your poison sometime.
Yes, you do.
Okay, let's move on to the District 123 for the State House seat. Incumbent Gloria Frazier and AK. Helen, you start.
Representative Gloria Frazier received a gift 2 years ago by getting on the ballot. Apparently, she was aware that Alberta Anderson was going to, I guess, retire from Waynesboro to not run for that seat. She happened to be at the right place at the right time. She was the only name on the ballot. So the way I see it, it was a gift. She didn't have to campaign. This year, she's going to have to campaign. She's going to have to spend some money, advertise so that people will get to know her. I believe AK Hasan has a wider recognition in Burke County and in Richmond County. I have personally worked, of course, with AK on numerous occasions and know what he brings to the table, and I know that he doesn't back down, and we don't need weak people. Not Gloria Frazier is not weak by any means, but I'm leaning toward AK.
Okay, Tom?
Yeah, I like AK. I think he's too conservative for me on some issues, but on the other hand,
is that a kiss of death?
That may be, but I think he's that outsider you want to shake things up, and I think that Gloria Frazier has been undistinguished so far in her career.
Okay. Tony?
AK, because I think AK brings a lot to the table. He's an astute politician, and he's been there before. He's held office before. He knows his stuff. I mean, a guy growing up in the inner city and has mastered politics as AK has done, it only enhances his opportunity to win a seat. As Helen has stated, Gloria fell into a pretty good position, and she didn't have any competition in running. It was her first public office, but AK has held numerous public offices, and I know what he can do.
So as we move forward and look at this, I mean, this morning I was looking at the paper. Well, I hate to say this morning because this actually is going to run July the 10th when this show is actually going to run. And what we're talking about here, we're doing a pre-taping on July the 7th. But when we come back, we'll go ahead and move to that Senate seat with former Commissioner Marion Williams and State Senator Ed Taubman. We're going to have that conversation. Very interesting article I saw just recently. Yes. We'll be right back. We're going to take a commercial break.
I'm Sister King Cannon, and I encourage you to tune in every Monday through Friday on Praise 96.9, where we bring you inspirational praise 24 hours a day. That's Monday through Friday from 2 to 6. We'll bring you the update on what's happening in the churches, in our community, and current events on what's happening right here within the CSRA. Remember, that's Monday through Friday from 2 to 6 on Praise 96.9 with yours truly, Sister King Cannon.
It's the perfect way to get your morning going on 96.3 Kiss FM with Fats and Cher.
And I've got your Kiss and Tell Entertainment. He's got your classic throwbacks, so much more. Set your clock and join us weekday morning, 6 to 10, only on 96.3 Kiss FM or on your computer at 96.3kissfm.com.
Do you need your computer repaired or your office network maintained? Call the certified experts at 4T's Computers. They have the largest staff of certified technicians in the CSRA, with hundreds of computers repaired monthly and multiple maintenance contracts with small businesses and organizations. All work is guaranteed, and our motto is, do it right the first time. We have the largest selection of refurbished computers in the area. 4T's has 2 locations to serve you, 592 Bobby Jones Expressway across from Home Depot, and Windsor Plaza next to the post office on Peach Orchard Road. Do you need your computer repaired or your office network maintained? Call the certified experts at 4T's Computers. They have the largest staff of certified technicians in the CSRA, with hundreds of computers repaired monthly and multiple maintenance contracts with small businesses and organizations. All work is guaranteed, and our motto is, do it right the first time. We have the largest selection of refurbished computers in the area. 4T's has 2 locations to serve you, 592 Bobby Jones Expressway across from Home Depot, and Windsor Plaza next to the post office on Peach Orchard Road.
Welcome back. You're watching Comcast Community Concerns. I'm your host, Ben Hasan. My guest is Tom Grant, editor of Metro Spirit, Helen Blocker-Adams, the host of People in Issue with Helen, and community activist Tony Lewis. We were just talking about, just before we went to commercial break, was entering into the Senate race. Tom, who do you like in that race? District 22, we talking about former Commissioner Marion Williams and State Senator Ed Taubman. Who do you like and why?
ARC panel endorsed Marion Williams. And frankly, after talking to both of them, I liked Marion too. Marion's a straight talker. He asks questions and he tries to get the answers. Sometimes it's painful to watch him ask those questions, but many times he's the only one doing the asking. And I think about the difference between this commission and the past commission. The difference is that Marion used to ask a whole lot of really good questions.
So, I'm sorry, so let me interject something since you mentioned commission. So right now, as the commission is conducting meetings in record time now, in all the 20